Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, today we're gonna have a bit more fun video involving Masacre. Now he's one of the champions that got a slight buff this month, and I already liked using the guy before, and now it's a lot more simple and a lot more straightforward. This morning I remembered about this path that has recharge and power shield, and then some other nodes that are quite frankly relatively irrelevant. The whole point here is that you're meant to play this entire lane by holding block and then launching special attacks, whilst at the same time trying to avoid getting hit in a block or by opponent's special attacks. Right, but we're going to do it a bit different here. Because neither you or your opponent can gain power by normal means, such as by striking the opponent or getting struck by the opponent, Masacre can fully rely and utilize his heavy attack spam. And that is not only fun, but also very straightforward, effective, and what's most important, potentially, quite error-free process, because there is no given input opponent can make. Only kind of like point of danger in these fights is the time when you do have to bait out opponent's special attack, because they do eventually get to like a bar of power, but that's typically like once or twice in the entire fight, and then if you are able to punish that special attack with a heavy attack of your own, you're in perfect position just to finish out the fight. Now, it might look like it's not a quick fight or it takes a considerable amount of time, but it really doesn't, considering these are Act 7 opponents, and considering how many strikes you land per minute, these fights are actually flying by quite quickly. So 100 hits with a 6-star rank 2 Massacre, but it's also fairly quick 100 hits and definitely a ton of fun. Now we do have several opponents, and I'm going to go through most of them. I'm going to fast forward through some. But next one is Blade, and you'd think that Blade is going to be a lot harder to deal with, well, mainly because of his debuff shrug of abilities. But when you play this way, he never really kind of like tends to get past the bar of power for most part, and that also means that your debuffs maintain majority of their normal duration. As we can see, the bat is ignited here already. The incinerates are starting to put in work. Now I think, no, I did not get hit. I managed to do this evade fairly well, so yay for me. And we can go right back to spamming that heavy attack. It's a very straightforward and fun playstyle, if you ask me, because Massacre's heavy attack is also very animated, and there's something very, very satisfying about using it. And then there's obviously the fact that opponent has a whole ton of Incinerate debuffs on them at all times. And yeah, the fights are going quite quickly. And you don't have to worry about baiting out opponent's special attacks, or getting caught on a dashback, or missing an intercept, or taking block damage. It's a very, very straightforward playstyle. You can see that here at this point we are like, what, 90 hits in. He has like 10% health left. I think I finished the fight off by dropping a level 1. Why not? We can swiftly move on to the next fight, which is Hulk, and here we have class advantage actually. And yeah, it's a very, very easy thing to set up as well. The only kind of like definite thing is that you do want to make sure that the opponent has a little to no power when you start spamming these heavy attacks. And like in this case, unfortunately, that Hulk didn't really want to throw his level 1 at a time, so I'm going to be trying to get him to 2 bars of power here. Hopefully he throws that very quickly, and I can go back to whooping his rear end. Now I take a little bit of a risk there. I should not have went into heavy attack. I risked getting punished there. That was a lucky play. It wasn't a skillful play. That was a flat-out mistake, to be honest. But it's fine. I did not get punished. Therefore, it still kind of works out. And yeah, Massacre is in his regular cycle. So here Hulk is at level 1. So I'm gonna need to bait out that, and we can go right back to dropping all of these heavy attacks in the face of Hulk. As you can see, all of that damage over time definitely does add up, and the opponents are just kind of like melting away steadily and surely. So I'm gonna go in for another heavy attack. I think I chained my level 1 here, and yeah, the fight is over. We can move on to the next fight. Next fight is Guillotine. Now with Guillotine, I'm actually going to play this fight in a manner that you are kind of like technically meant to. play this, and reason for that is not too many people know about it, but there are certain champions in this game, and for whatever reason, most typically they happen to be female champions. Like Guillotine, like Captain Marvel, like Storm, like Guillotine 2099, and a few others who just get up quicker. They have faster animations. That Thorjan Poster is one of them as well. They have faster animation after being knocked down, and it's often quite risky to try and spam your heavy attacks against those champions because, yeah, they can actually tag you and land a combo in between the hits. So if you're using champions who frequently do kind of like multiple heavy attacks in a row with the opponent cornered, be careful of those champions that I mentioned, and I'm sure that I didn't mention a bunch, but I definitely know that it's Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, Storm, Guillotine, Guillotine 2099, Thorjan Foster, and I'm probably missing some out. Now I'm going to be using Masacre against Night Rusher, and this isn't as great of a showcase here, because obviously Night Rusher is Incinerate immune, and actually his damage against Incinerate immune champions is quite decent. The only thing is that you typically take longer to reignite your bat. But once your bat is ignited, we can see that even though my hits don't actually deal any real damage when I spam my heavy attack, every time I would apply an Incinerate, but it doesn't happen due to whatever reason, you deal about 3k energy damage to Night Rusher. And it's not nothing, it's a very stable, solid source of damage. And in cases where you can deliver damage via regular means as a complementary add to your regular hits, that still lets Masacre be actually very heavy hitting champion. Unfortunately, obviously, if I'm dealing 0 on my every regular hit, and I only need to rely on those 3k per hit, it's not exactly the highest damage source. Therefore, again, ideally I want to drop some special attacks in this fight as well. The playstyle is still perfectly viable. You can still get the opponent down. It's just going to take a bit longer under this circumstance. But typically, against any average Incinerate immune champion, Masacre is actually a very, very solid option as well, thanks to this 3k increase in damage. And yeah, we're going to see that I get him down. How many hits it took? It took about 187, so not the quickest fight. And I'm actually going to mess up a bit in this fight, and I'm going to get tagged, which is going to suck a bit. But it's fine. So we're up against Captain America, and yeah, out of all of the fights that I'm going up against, I mess up against Captain America, which is, by definition, the hardest opponent. Right, I get to eat a level 1, and that definitely hurt. But it's fine, we're still going to finish this fight out just well enough. So at this point I did land a parry. I'm just gonna go into my regular heavy rotation here, get my bat ignited, and every bat hit that I land now inflicts Incinerate. And it's very easy from this point forward. You can see that his health is getting drained away very steadily. And for those of you who did not know, Masacre is actually a very good option for this Gwenperion boss. Now the high energy diet is annoying because your Incinerate damage, well, does less. That's about as simple as that. But because you have Incinerates on you constantly, you bypass selective time stream, which is like the only thing that you're realistically worried about. And since these mashup champions do not have a special 3 active, you can just go totally ham. We can see that those Incinerates deal hardly any damage. Honestly, a better plan in this fight would have been just to use level 2s exclusively. And looking back at it, that is exactly what I should have done. I will land a couple of level 2s in her block, so those are also going to be dealing some relatively decent damage. But for most part, yeah, thanks to the Incinerate, it's not going to be the quickest takedown of Gwenperion by any means, but Masacre is definitely a perfectly viable option for this boss. So he literally quite single-handedly took down every single opponent on the way to this boss, and now is also capable of taking down the boss itself. So that's a fairly solid case for Masacre here, being a very worthwhile champion in Act 7 Exploration. I actually used him for a few different lanes as well. But yeah, we can definitely see that he put in work getting here, and he's also getting the boss down. So again, I'm gonna be going, I think, for a couple more level 2s, but I will also mix in my level 1s for whatever reason. I really don't know why I did that. I completely forgot about that high energy resist that she has there. So you can see here again, let's go there, and that basically is kind of like, what, 50k special 2 in a block? Not too bad. Definitely quite decent damage. Now I just need to reignite my bat, which I unfortunately let to expire. And once I have done this, very good. I'm gonna need to bait out this level 2, go for another level 2 of my own in her block. So let's land a few hits, let's gain a bit more power, because Masacre can gain power by striking opponent's block as well. And yeah, the fight is basically straightforward from this point. You can see that slowly but surely she's going down, and there we go. That is it for today's video, pretty much. So Masacre put in work Act 7. Very fun, very interesting, and I definitely enjoyed it. I hope you did, guys, as well. And if you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about